Senator Bill Ingebrigsten joins me right now to talk a little bit about the hearing on guns here at the Capitol. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Senator, the idea behind this particular hearing was to get some ideas, recommendations from the public on whether or not there should be some changes to the current policy. Did you hear anything that kind of resonated?
No, I was troubled by the fear. I was troubled by the citizens that are actually fearful of coming to the legislature. And I guess I've never seen that fear here until all of a sudden we're talking about restricting gun rights again at the Capitol. I say we. The controlling party brought that up last year, and frankly, they did fill the halls with people that I'm sure did have the right to carry, and that was kind of pointed out today. And some people were very fearful of that. But nothing happened. Nothing ever happened. The committees that I was involved in and the hearings that I witnessed, they were very respectful. Now, that's not to say if somebody may have called somebody or approached somebody out in the hallway with a different point of view, that might have happened. But the bottom line is there was nothing broken. We shouldn't have been hearing those hearings last year. Sometimes we do knee-jerk reaction legislation, and that's what it was.
In the first hearing last week, it was discussed, and the Capitol essentially has been classified as vulnerable when it comes to security. Do you think there is a public safety issue, even though nothing has happened? Do you think there is a public safety concern?
You know, you could say that about any building where there's people coming and going, Julie. You could, obviously the Vikings has a large group of people there and those kinds of events, and they're actually checking bags, and I get that and I understand it, and people expect that. You should expect to be safe. But frankly, in Minnesota, I think the track record of the permit carry holder, people that go through the time and effort and to carry out their Second Amendment rights to protect themselves has been a tremendous track record, and frankly, I don't think people have anything to worry about. There's nothing out there to show that they have to be worried. In fact, I would be more worried about a gun-free zone. I mean, gun-free zones so far have been tragic. There's been some very horrible tragedies that have gone on.
You did say in the hearing that you did acknowledge that courtrooms shouldn't have guns because of the emotion involved. You also acknowledged that the Capitol can be highly emotional at times as well. So why not have a parallel standard, as some suggest? You
know, I think security is right now, Julie, beefed up when there is a real high secure area. They're not doing the metal detectors or anything like that. Courtroom security is different. It really is. Now lives are actually changed, not potentially changed. They are being changed by a judge or a jury. It's not a real fair comparison. We're dealing with and having open conversations about laws that need to be fixed or tweaked or whatever. It is not the same. It just isn't. And I come back from the history of securing the courts in my previous life, and I also lost a partner that was killed by somebody who actually stood in front of the judge and had 4 guns on him. That initially got the security thing going for courts, and they should be secured. If I was a sitting judge or jury, I wouldn't want to be I just wouldn't want to be able to, I wouldn't want to be in court without that security. But it isn't the same in the legislature. It is the people's house.
Okay, well, Senator Representative Michael Paymar, excuse me, did ask Public Safety Commissioner Mona Doman her opinion on the current policy of those who do want to bring firearms to the Capitol, and essentially current law requires that there be notification to the Commissioner of Public Safety. She did say that there's no verification mechanism in place via legislative authority. So do you think the legislature could go further and perhaps expand how they make sure that somebody really does have a permit to carry?
Yeah, I'm not sure. If I know the process because I've done it myself. I've notified the Department of Public Safety. I give them not only my permit number from the sheriff of the issuing authority, which is Douglas County where I live, but I also give my driver's license number. And I'm assuming what they're doing is they're doing a background check to make sure that I have not been convicted of or basically being charged with a felony. I hope that that's going on. If that's the case, unless you're convicted, of course, but it makes the permit null and void. And at that point in time, it would trigger a mechanism in security where the local sheriff would be contacted. That permit probably would have been called in. And security works that way. I mean, that's how it works. But what you're finding out is that the people that are law-abiding, once again, are doing it right. The person that's going to come in and do some harm, I'm not going to say it never would happen, but they're certainly not going to tell you that it's going to happen. And if I want to be able to protect myself, I should have that right. And again, the track record is there.
So let's go down that road just a little bit. Do you think this conversation at this point has been a little too narrow, that the concern is too narrow when it focuses just on guns and not necessarily on bombs and other other things that could cause significant harm to public safety.
I think that's certainly a legitimate concern. Frankly, politics and politicians certainly do not have a very good rating amongst the general public, and I understand where there should be some more concerns. And again, if you come and testify, you should be in a safe environment. But if it's going to be a high, an area where you're going to have some potential issues, then I think security should be able to check that bag, quite frankly, and ask, are you carrying a handgun? If you do, where's your permit?
Okay, my last question for you, Senator, is Representative Paymar has stated he'd like to ban guns at the Capitol. He also acknowledges that this likely won't happen. So what do you think good compromise language could be?
I don't know that there is a compromise when it comes to the Second Amendment. I think you've seen that last year in the legislature. Representative Paymar was actually brought forth this legislation, and quite frankly, the sleeping dog came alive, and there was really no reason for it. And again, if it's knee-jerk because of Aurora, Colorado, or Sandy Hook School, quite frankly, there's no comparison there. We could have never stopped those things. The only thing that could have stopped those things, as I said in my committee today, is maybe somebody in the front row could have stopped that threat by having a personal protection handgun on them and actually stop the risk, just like a law enforcement officer would.
Okay, Senator Bill Ingebrigsten, as always, we love having you on the set. Please join us again soon during session when I'm sure this comes up again.
Thank you again for having me.